has 20 of them, and then he gave us an update on what they're doing with the money, so that you know.
Yeah, the savings that we had.
Okay, we are live. Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spalding County Board of Commissioners work session. It is July 2nd, 2024. The time is about 3:08. Please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices. At this time, I'd like to ask Commissioner Flowers Taylor to lead us in the invocation and Commissioner Johnson to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Would you join me, please, by standing? Father God, we come to you this afternoon in prayer, but we also come to you in thanksgiving for the wonderful, safe life that you provided us here in this country, in this state, and in this city. We ask you to be with our workers. We ask you to be with the community, to stay safe during this intense heat. And we ask you to be in this room. Allow us to make decisions that make good sense and that are practical for the citizens of Spalding County. These things we ask in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. This time, I'd like to start with item number 3. Any issues with me starting with item number 3, our work session? Okay. Discuss roadway asset services. Director Emberger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The request will be to utilize FY24 funds from our road improvement account that are remaining to go ahead and contract for our new roadway assessment. And I have a presentation.
Thank you.
So currently, we are working under our roadway assessment that was last done in 2018. That was our PACES study. This is actually the study itself. You can see here's 3-ring binder format. This is what we utilize to rate our roads and to follow when we do our SPLOST roads. So the T-SPLOST roads were strictly followed by this assessment where every single roadway was assessed and compared against each other here in Spalding County. They do that in segments. A segment is an intersection to an intersection, and we have over 2,000 segments in 2018 of roadway.
I have a question. Right
Yes, ma'am.
So the way that you explained that the road assessments were done, what my experience has been is I don't feel like it actually covers what needs to happen, because you'll go to a place and there is like this humongous hole in the road, and maybe the rest of the road is fine or reasonably fine. And so that piece doesn't make it to the list because 75 or 80% of the road is still good. So how is this going to be different, or is it going to be the same thing?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in agreement with you. That's how this one was done. This one will be done completely different. It'd be done linear and not in those individual bits and pieces. I could explain that. I could jump to that slide or go to the
Go ahead, but I just want, before you got going,
Yes,
I want to make sure.
I'm in
you
total
understood what-
agreement, and I think we have corrected that. So we put out for bid the road assessment bids. As you can see, we received bids from 5 companies throughout the United States. We then looked at 2 of the bids that did not offer the performance specs that we needed. And there was one of the bids that actually had us doing the scan. They would give us basically the cameras and equipment, and we would put it on our own vehicles. And we would have to get it as our vehicles drove over those roads. I did not feel that was appropriate. It wasn't what we asked for in our bid. Roadway assessment services then was the lowest bidder. And then we took the lowest bidder, which was roadway assessment services, and then we began a conversation, a demo, and negotiations. So here's what they would be doing in reference to the assessment. This is the exact vehicle that they would be using. You see that there's 3 different elements that they're actually capturing the road assessment with. It is radar and video and lasers. This is a vehicle that they utilize and provide the roadway assessment for anybody who contracts out with them. Part of this would be they do images, consistent images and video of the roads. We would actually own this material afterwards as well. All right, so this addresses your question directly. You can see on the left-hand side, this is how our last study was done. So these pieces of red right here, they're not only doing the segments of roadway, but they're only getting samples from the roadway. And then you go ahead and get a full road score from that. And sometimes that doesn't work, as you can see. This roadway assessment from this company would be the entire road itself. It'd be completely linear, and every bit of the road would be examined and assessed. This is some of the results that we would be getting as far as reporting. What we're showing here is that this is integrating with Esri. Esri is our GIS system. As you're familiar, we just hired a GIS coordinator, and then I spoke to him last week as well, and he confirmed that we would have integration between this assessment and our new GIS system.
What's going to be the benefit of us having GSI for this?
GIS.
GIS for this.
So I'll get to that, but the reality there, GIS allows us to provide layers. So everything, your inventory that's in the field, so that's your roads, your curbs, your sidewalks, your water lines, your water valves, your fire hydrants, stormwater, curbs, gutters, all of those are layers inside of your GIS system, and then you could pull all those individual layers up. You will also see in the next couple of weeks, I'll be coming to you to show you about Confirm. We'll talk about that a little bit here. That's our new work order system. That'll actually spatially tie into GIS. And so your work orders will be done through GIS as well. We're probably about 10 years behind other governments who have already implemented this. This also would tie into like the equipment that the sheriff cars have, the fire department has. It provides information in layers of our county. All right, so here's an example of what they do. You can see here that you not only have, this is your horizontal assessment, they're also going to go ahead and take pictures and use lasers to determine things like your spider cracks, where we're having incidences below the roadway. And it takes AI and it goes ahead and it assesses all that into your assessment. It also gives us this picture so that we can see exactly where the problems are with the roadways.
Back one slide.
Sure.
So TJ, maybe you're fixing to say this in the next slide, but this is a great picture spatially from the top down.
Right.
How do we know that that one spot in the middle of that picture isn't 2 feet deep?
So we don't know that it goes down 2 feet. I could do that with LiDAR. LiDAR then would increase this cost probably by 4 or 5 times. I don't believe that that's necessary in the standard throughout the country. We don't really need that, in my opinion. This does take the AI by what it sees and what it can see a couple inches, and then it assesses it from there and grades it at that point. I can do what you're saying, but it's extremely expensive.
Well, and my concern is that one of the complaints that I get from people is that they report a pothole or some sort of something wrong with the road. We go back and fix it, and then when it rains again, all of that gravel or whatever it is we put down comes back up. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you can't really see what the depth, because you may see a crack but you don't know what's around it, then whose eyes are going to go back and say, well, is just a small patch, or that is really something that needs to be completely taken out?
Yes, ma'am. I
You
can
don't
actually
get
answer that.
Is what I'm,
There's several questions there. I'll try to answer them all.
okay.
One in response to the gravel coming out after we fill a pothole. We've gone to great lengths in the last year or so to change our processes. So that is essentially most of the time is cold mix. We do everything we can not to use cold mix anymore. About 2 years ago, we were able to buy a hot box with our T-Splosh funds, which that allows us to actually use hot asphalt directly from the asphalt plant to repair those. So we're getting a much better longevity when we use that particular method over cold mix. The other item that we've done is we use the mastic. So the mastic also, that gives us 20-year longevity instead of the very short longevity of the cold mix. We also have introduced in the last year for emergency repairs and smaller repairs what we call rock asphalt. Rock asphalt is actually a product that comes out of Texas. Natural occurring asphalt is inside of that rock, and we're able to apply that quickly. We actually run over it with our tires, and then that gives us a very long-term patch in comparison to cold mix. We don't go to cold mix as much, and so I think we've seen a big improvement in that recently as far as those processes. Now, yes, there still is some eyes that have to be put on these reports, and then that we call that in patching. So one thing we've done is, if it appears that we don't have to do the large patching, we have gone to the OGI process 3 years ago. That's a material that GDOT has approved. Instead of the light patching, we process the OGI first, and then we top it. So the last 3 years of T-Splosh have been that product. What that OGI does is it's a flexible product and allows it to flex underneath our topping, and then that eliminates some of that patching. We still, however, do some large patching. We either catch that in the bid, or when we're out there, I have a person with the asphalt crews. When we do our T-Splosh, they're actually putting eyes, they're watching our contractor, but they're putting eyes on it. In case we miss something, we do have some funds available where we'll require a large patch on site. So there is some eyes that are still on this, irregardless of our process.
So we have somebody watching our contractor put the roadway down?
Absolutely. They're with them every minute of every job they do.
And are they trained to do that?
Yes, ma'am, they absolutely are. So Kenneth Wilkerson does most of that, and his 38 years of experience goes a long way.
Oh, okay. I thought, didn't he retire?
No, ma'am. Let's hope he doesn't. Think he's with us for a while.
Okay.
He's our main one that does that, and then he's been training somebody else as well so that we can be prepared for that when it happens. Yes, ma'am. So this is where they're classifying the distress accurately. This is all part of the initial report. You can see there that they're actually indicating between block cracking and alligator cracking. These are just different forms of cracking. And we're able to not only get that on the report, we get it visually via video, we get pictures, and then you can see here that there's different colored specifications that allow us to see the overall picture. This is an example of the video logger that would be part of this process. We would have video of every mile of roadway and anything else that they are actually assessing. So you'll see in this assessment at the end, we are also looking to assess our curb, our gutter, our sidewalks, and our signs. So this will also take a video of all of those items so we can go back if we think we missed something. We could go back and look at the actual condition. We can do that if we don't agree, or if I'm here asking for the next T-Splosh list and you have a specific question, I could go to that exact roadway and we could take a look at what the conditions are.
So we do have curb and gutter in our subdivisions, but our roadways don't have curb and gutter.
And
So,
that is not fully correct.
okay,
We
please
do
straighten
have,
it out.
and that's why I want to do the assessment. So I'll give you an example where you don't think we have it. North Jordan Hill Road, north of Tiemann Road is curb and gutter. And we have stormwater in place there as well. Why we have it, I don't know. But we have a lot of roadways like that that is curb and gutter. It's not in subdivisions. East Griffin has a complete stormwater system underground and curb and gutter. So we do have a lot of roads that are curb and gutter. A lot of your roads off of Old Atlanta, curb and gutter.
Where
So-
in East Griffin is it curb and gutter?
The
In the
entire-
county?
Yeah, the entire town is curb and gutter and stormwater. So those are things that I really need to get a grasp on as far as our inventory, and then where we stand on statuses of those items. We have a lot of that. We have a lot of sidewalk, and quite honestly, we don't know where they're all at, and they're in places that you don't think we would have them.
Okay.
So I think that would be very helpful to us now and in the future.
Yeah, because I just don't remember any streets that have
Right.
curb and gutter.
And-
So, but yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is, if you have center line miles, you have to remember sidewalk and curb and gutter is double the center line miles. So we're going to have hundreds and hundreds of miles of these assets that we would like to have inventoried.
So you say there is a stormwater system also in East Griffin?
Yes, ma'am. It doesn't work, but it's there.
How
It
you
was
know?
installed from the beginning.
Oh, the mill?
Yes,
Put it
ma'am. When
in.
they built that village, they built it with stormwater.
Probably built it with chicken bones.
Don't know. So this is another slide indicating that we're integrating it with our ESRI system. This is something the county already has, and this will benefit us greatly. All right, here's where we start to get really into the nitty-gritty of why we're doing this. So when we speak about dashboards, when we speak about how we want to spend our funds, when we speak about we have this X amount of budget next year, what do we need to do with that money? This is where this starts to come into fruition. This is Capital Predictor. So this is a company called Confirm, and Brightly has a product, two products, which is Confirm, and then they have a Capital Predictor product, and that integrates our Confirm, which is going to be our new work order system, and then AE, which will be our new construction work order system. What it does then is it utilizes AE. It takes all the data that's coming in, uses AE to then go ahead and predict what our capital costs are going to be. What is our M&O going to be? If you want to go ahead and say we have X amount of dollars, but we want to go ahead and look at doing something in East Griffin, it'll automatically, all I got to do is put in, say we want to do a road in East Griffin, it'll replace it with another road, and we'll have all that live. And that'll tie in to, we already own Confirm. So that's another big reason. This was the only company that actually, Capital Predictor. We already own Capital Predictor. This was the only company that would use that for its software. And I'm going to give some examples of that software. Oops. Let's see. I may have jumped ahead a little bit. Well, that is the example of the software there. But it will also go ahead and take the dashboards and see this portion here, how it's highlighting the streets. It will go ahead and take the dashboard information and convert that into a street view so that you can see the county as a whole. We can do it by district, we can do it by area, and then it'll do all that in the background and will help us designate what roads would be in the T-Splost.
Okay. Maybe they know. I don't know what ESRI means. What are those letters representing?
I think it was on.
It's, I don't know what the letters mean because it's the company name that handles the GIS. It's the software that runs GIS, which is Geographical Information Systems. It's the software that the county uses. County manager, do you know what ESRI means?
Yeah, I don't remember what the acronym stands for.
It's the company name. It's the name of the software.
Okay.
Will this actually change our priority list and roads then?
Absolutely. This
Okay.
will be our priority list.
Okay.
This will allow you to also change the priority list in reference to dollars, to miles, to districts, to areas. The options are endless when it comes right down to predicting it. It'll give us prediction for the next 10 years. 5 years from now, when we do another asset study, it'll go ahead and factor all those numbers back in. And then we'll constantly have what needs to be done fresh.
I'll make sure we're all talking the same in case somebody listens. We're not talking about changing T-Splosh.
No, no, I'm talking about the priority
current
list that-
T-Splosh
yeah.
prioritization.
No, not T-Splosh, it's
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
list
but
of.
the next one.
This is, yeah, not the current one, but it will give us the guideline for the next T-Splosh. And I could even plug in sidewalks and curb and gutter and some other, those are actually some stormwater attributes. And we have the ability then, we will also have the ability, if we want to add something that's inside of the scan, inside of the video logger, they could come back in and we could add some of those elements for cost, of course. But we can do that in the next 6 or 12 months if we wanted to. Because that scan and that information we'll already own, and we would just have to get the company to go and look at it. So I'm requesting that the money comes out of our existing road improvement fund. I felt as though you probably would want to see what we've spent that on this year. We do have some funds left over, but I made a list here of what specifically has been done with the road improvement fund. You can see here that this varies greatly with multiple projects. We have some large projects like West McIntosh, where we did a considerable amount of work. Our new rock asphalt product. We've done numerous large cross drains, and these are very large projects. Dirt road aprons. This is where we put a 75-foot apron from the entrance from a dirt road onto a paved road. This is where people stop. This is where they're able to get traction so they could go on and off the road safely. This is where we no longer have to go back and maintain this apron area where they're making the ruts. We have saved considerably thousands of hours by doing this. We did a good batch last year. We've done 22 more of them this year, and we hope to continue that program. The
So-
triple surfacing at the 3 roads that we did are in here.
So, go back a second.
Yeah.
So when you've done roads, I don't know what apron is. So are
Okay.
you saying when you go by someone's driveway that the paving goes into the right of way, or what are you saying
So where
in
the dirt
English?
road tees into a paved road, where the car is stopped, that first 75 feet of the dirt road, we put a pavement apron on there. So that they're
Okay.
actually stopping and going,
On-
entering onto the road on pavement and not gravel.
Okay.
This
And
has
that's
been-
how many?
We did 22 of those this year. I think we did 22 last year.
Okay, well, how are those selected? Just the roads that are connected to the T-Splosh roads that are being paved?
Not necessarily. We go by complaints. We go by the ones that cost us the most money. We go by the ones that we get the most complaints. So when we do that, we go from multiple complaints a year or multiple complaints a month to 0. It instantly makes it better. And we've gone all over the county with those.
I would like to see a list of whatever that is, whenever you have time.
Be
Okay.
glad to do that. We've done some intersection improvements and some studies. There's some engineering and then technology. You see our set of speedway signs, radar signs. They go out there. We have 1 set of those. We do have this in the queue, our LED arrows and arrow signs. Those have not been installed yet. I just haven't had time for that. But you're going to see lots of curves, the safety being greatly improved. Those items have already been purchased. All right, so this is the bid itself that came from Road Asset Services. You can see their original bid was $205,000. Then they had some other services there that we have spoken about. So the bigger number that you see there at the $95,000, which are these first items, is the actual road assessment. And then I looked at adding the items we talked about, which is the video logger, the sidewalks, and then the curb and gutter. Their original price was $205,800. I've done some negotiating with them and have gotten that down to $188,795, and that's what our request will be, is for $188,795 to come out of the FY24 budget.
So is this, when you said this is your roadway budget, how much was in that budget to start off with?
Approximately $1 million. And so this would be from FY24 funds, so this would not affect our budget that we started today.
Right, but I guess my question is, of your $1 million budget last year, how much of that did you use?
Everything but about $200,000, I believe. That's
So you
like
have-
1.2 million, I'm
So
sorry.
you have just enough, basically, for this.
It worked out that way. I didn't realize that till last week.
Hence the negotiation, I get you.
Yes. Well done on that part.
Very good.
Okay. All right, so you want to move, let's make sure, in the end, you want to move money from FY +24 to FY +25 to do the road assistance services.
And I'm not familiar with those technical terms, but Miss Erica would say if I was correct or not.
Miss Erica's had going north-south, so I'm
Yes.
I'm okay with that, yes. All right,
Approving the
we're-
one, the
we
188,
understand what he's
the
talking about doing.
188,795, we're approving that.
Yes,
That's what they're asking for.
Asking for, should I say, yes.
okay. All right, anything else from this?
That's all I have, sir.
Is this, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am.
So TJ, this is a one shot. This is just to give us the next list.
That's correct. And there's I don't have it here, but if we wanted to do an update between now and then, they have guaranteed that price. If we want to do something 3 years from now, I believe it's like $95,000, they would do a rescan for us. So yes, we would use this for the next 5 years as we've done in the past. That would be our initial recommendation. If we wanted to do something different, we could talk about that in a few years.
What did it cost us to have the last scan done?
$66,000, I believe. And that was basically a hand scan, and I got a hand result. This is the actual results in my hand here. So we got an Excel spreadsheet. So these two products are night and day difference.
Well, like you
I'm
said,
sure-
we're 10 years behind, like you said.
I'm sure people still use this, but I don't know of anybody who still uses. This was high tech when we did this 7 years ago. It was in 2018, 6 years ago.
TJ, this would provide us with a full inventory of our entire asset base. Asphalt, signs, curbs, gutters, sidewalks. This would give us
Correct.
an inventory that we would have in the computer.
Yes, and I apologize for not making a bigger deal out of the sign portion. This is going to inventory our signs for us in GPS, every single sign that we have. There's going to be tens of thousands of signs that are going to be put in our inventory, and they will also rate it to condition. So that if we, in our road improvement fund, say we'd like to spend $50,000 replacing signs next year, I could go back to this and I'll replace the signs that are in the worst condition based on an assessment of both visual and AI.
So if these, just talk about signs, if these signs are done on this vehicle the way that you showed us, and obviously either the camera from the top or GPS from GIS from the sky, how are we gonna who will visualize that the sign's got pock marks in it? I don't, my brain is not processing how that works.
They'll do that. Well, technically, they is also AI. We'll have a meeting prior, and then we'll actually agree on what the assessment conditions are. So we'll agree on good, fair, poor, excellent, and then they'll give us visual samples, and then we could decide from there. Of course, we'll need to base that too on what we think. So like Clayton County replaces every single sign every 10 years, no matter what. So I don't think we would go to that extreme, but we would have something a little less as far as that goes. But we'll agree on that prior to the assessment. We'll also have a meeting to also agree on the road portion. Once again, they'll be giving us examples, and then we'll be able to relate that to what we think is a reasonable, future budget type situation.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on road assess services? Okay, we're going to vote on that, at the 6 o'clock
Should we
meeting.
are we gonna be able to vote with 3 people? I know we can, but should we?
Where's the rest of them at?
One's on vacation, one's celebrating an anniversary, and the other's on vacation. I'm just thinking things like this. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how soon we need this. I know we need it. How soon do we need it?
I was
I mean, is
looking
this
to take it out of FY24, so I don't know what the answer is to that
Well,
question.
I mean, I was thinking that
I think it
as
needs
of
to be
today,
done.
FY24 funds would have rolled over anyway, shouldn't it?
The funds did not roll over. Remember, we were instructed to roll the funds into fund balance, not to roll it into the operating budget.
Okay, but those were not the operating funds. Those were the funds that came from 80 or 90 people's salary, correct?
Technically, yes.
So, yeah, maybe I
But
don't
all-
understand
but
the
all-
process.
But all funding from fiscal year '24 going into fiscal year '25, we don't roll that. It goes into fund balance. But TJ has been working this extensively since March.
Several months.
Yeah.
I'm not challenging that. I'm trying to find out where the money goes if you don't spend it.
And was that
goes
the
into
$3 million
fund
we're
balance.
talking about? that we
No, that's different money.
actually- Okay.
It stays in the fund balance. That's what. if we
But
don't-
it has to be rolled to the fund balance. So,
We've done that.
And that was the instruction of the.
so those monies are in the fund balance in addition to
Correct.
the supplemental budget?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make sure where the money is coming from.
Agree, all of us agree. All right. Any other questions on this one? All right, all right, thank you.
Thank you,
Takes
Mr.
care of both of yours. This is a call for elected officials from Orchard Hill.
Mr. Chair, they were running a few minutes late, leaving work to get here. They were indicating that they were leaving their full-time jobs to be here by between 5 minutes till and 4 o'clock. If you would be so inclined to take a recess.
All right,
I have a question before we go. The sheriff's department's vehicle surpluses, is 20 vehicles. Now, I know when TJ has vehicles that go to surplus, he always asks for the money to come back to his department. Will this money be able to go back to the sheriff's department? Where will this money go? I'm looking at y'all back there.
Obviously, Sheriff,
I'm trying to help you get your steps in.
so all the vehicles are approved by the Sheriff's Department. There are vehicles that are tied to other funds that we absolutely don't mix with this. And that would be my part of the answer.
I think the way it's always been done is that any vehicles that were bought out of budget go back into the general fund, and any vehicles that are bought by asset forfeiture or other means, that money goes back to the sheriff's office.
Ah, okay. I was just wondering, because I knew how it worked with Public Works. I just didn't know if that funding would all go back to you or how it would be split up.
I
And
think
you're,
it's kind of a hodgepodge of vehicles that are in there that have been used by the county for several years that are like
Taking up space.
expeditions and that were purchased out of state or federal asset forfeiture. And TJ knows which vehicles those are, so anything those bring in will come back to us.
okay.
And I would ask that we just continue to program as we do it now.
So, yeah, we'll put them up and let them go out for bid and then, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, all right, that's my question answered.
okay. Let's
Take a recess for 15 minutes.
let's take a recess till 4 o'clock. We're back in session. Commissioner Johnson, did you have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to go into executive session
Purpose
for the
of-
purpose of discussing
Pending or potential litigation.
potential litigation.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 3-0. Motion carries. Let's go into executive session.
Mr. Davis, they're back on.
All right, do I have
Mr.
a
Chairman,
motion?
I'd like to make a motion to come out of executive session.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. We're out of executive session.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to make a motion to go back into open session, Stephanie? I'd like to make a motion to come back into open session.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 3-0, we're back in open session. At this time, let's have Orchard Hills come forward, and Orchard Hill come forward, and let's talk. Thank you. This is a conversation with family and friends. Okay.
Took us a while to get here, but we're here.
What's that?
It took us a while to get here, but we're here.
Well, that's fine. We just walked in. All right.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having us.
All right, this
First
session
time
is
we've ever
about...
been here, so, we really don't know how it goes.
Well, let's talk about fire.
Okay, let's talk.
That-
That's the animal in the room.
That's exactly right. All right. You have an issue.
Yeah.
What do you see as the issue? And then we'll talk about from Steve's perspective what he sees and try to come to some kind of resolution.
All right. Well, I believe it was back in May, me and Dr. Ledbetter had a meeting. Me and him, didn't go well, as I know he'll recall. Wanting to go up 32% on our fire protection. And I told him then that was a little excessive. It's been going up 10, 12, 15% a year for the last 4 years, which that's fine. That's easier for us to stomach. But to go up $17,000 in one fell swoop, that's a little much for our community, because we're gonna have to pass that on to our community. And taking the millage rate from 5.071 to 6.321, that's a lot. And like I told Steve that day, is we're a small community with a lot of people on fixed incomes, disability, and if we pass that on to them, then how are they gonna live? From what my property taxes went up this year, and we had this increase next year, heck, it's gonna be a burden. I'm a little well off than a lot of people in Orchard Hill, but still, I think it's a little excessive. And that's where I'm at with that. I know Kenneth has some comments.
And may I ask what the population is we're talking about here?
214 people, providing somebody doesn't go to the store.
And two, where the taxes are going up, not just in Orchard Hill here on this, but the business I run a pawn shop on north side of town. You've been there, Mr. Davis?
Yep.
Not to do any business, but put
Yeah.
signs, re-election signs up. But I've had people come from Sun City that are leaving Sun City because their taxes going from $900 a year to $3,000 a year. And so putting a stranglehold, not just on Orchard Hill, but Spalding County, but I thought I'd throw that little bit in. But yeah, Orchard Hill, for the past, I've been on council since 18, and it's never increased much. Like I said, we can stomach it. But I don't know, we with all our property taxes we get in, our money, we never see it. It comes in, we pay it right back to Spalding County. And then now we've been putting that little extra ourselves. We're not gonna be able to do it anymore. And I hate doing it to our, people in Orchard Hill. So that's all I've got. I don't know.
The average age of the citizen in Orchard Hill is 67 years old. That means most of them are no longer in the workforce. As you guys understand, and I know everyone here probably thinks the same way, anytime we have to raise any kind of property tax, whether it's actually home value raise, which is, it's not an increase in taxes, but it is an increase in taxes. What you cannot explain to the citizen at large is, okay, the millage rate didn't go up, but my property tax went up $400. What they do not understand is if you look at the estimated value of their home by Spalding County, which is a fair assessment, I would never disagree with that. To them, that is an increase in their property tax. They don't see millage rate, they don't care about millage rate. Most of them can't calculate it. I'll be honest with you, I struggle with it myself, and I'd like to think I understand it a little more than most people. My father, who is 80 years old, he laughed when we got our property tax. He's like, how does this house go up $200? He goes, we haven't done enough to make it go up. I said, Dad, we raised the millage rate in Orchard Hill last year. And he goes, enough to make it $200? I said, no, they assessed the property value higher too. Who's they? I'm like, not me. I was like, we'll blame the county commissioner at this point. I explained to our county commissioner, who is absent at the moment. I guess it was him. Because I'm sure you all know, as elected officials, I'm talking to my father, who is a registered voter, who did vote for me. Yeah, Dad, I didn't do it. Yeah, I raised the initial point of it, but I didn't raise our property value up. Once again, that is a tax increase. Now, we can get on Facebook all day long and brag about how we did not increase property taxes or the millage rate. But tell that to the person as they open their bill and see a between $200 and $700 difference, because I know people on both ends of that spectrum. I think they may be standing near me. But that's just, and then when you couple on that the increase in fire protection by 32%, the first check I signed and approved as a member of the council was $4,600. That was 2020. So from 2020 to now, our fire protection has went up that much. I mean, we've seen small increases for the first 2 years of my term on council, and then $7,000, and I think it was what, $9,600 last year. You know, those are increases we can accept. What we can't accept is doubling, and that's basically what we're doing, to the point where, based on your suggested increase, I think Dr. Letterbetter, you do this, 6.321. What are we now? That's a big increase considering you just increased the value of everybody's property in Orchard Hill.
My name is Marty Morgan. I'm the newest member of the council out in Orchard Hill, and I'm learning a lot, still have a lot to learn. But my questions are, what is Orchard Hill going to get in return for this increase? What are we getting? What are we gaining? And my thing is, how long had this council known that this increase was coming before we were notified? You know, it was kind of a shock to us. We had no idea it was coming, so there was no time to plan or react to it. So those are my questions.
Okay. Let's make sure that we kind of are all on the same sheet of music so we understand what's really happening. As I understand it, municipalities have to do a certain amount of, Stephanie, I'm looking at you, have to do a certain amount of mandated services to continue to be a municipality. One of the ones that they can do is fire.
GMA has a list, yes, the Georgia Municipal Association of recommended services and required services, yes.
Okay, so they've got a list of things that you've got to do to maintain being a city, a municipality, and one of them is fire. You have an option of coming to us, of course, or going to anybody else, you know. ups in Lamar, any place else, or doing it internally, correct? Making sure we all understand. For the last number of years, you've come to us and said, just like Sunnyside, and said, hey, we want to do, continue to use the Spalding Fire Department to be able to do that. All right, that's the requirement. All right. Now, Dr. Ledbetter, let's go through how we got to the number that you got to, please.
So as the Board of Commissioners have indicated from our discussion during our retreat and then moving forward into this year, the intent was to add one additional firefighter to each one of our stations for each shift. In order to do that, I had requested from the fire chief, Chief Byrd, and from Chief Polk to provide me with a dollar figure of how much that would cost in order to accommodate that additional person. Initially, we believed it was going to cost an additional 1.5 mils of taxes for each one of the fire districts. But after a lot of sharpening our pencil, we've gotten that figure down to 1.25 mils to add that additional person to each one of our fire engines per shift. That provides us with what we have just returned with our ISO rating at 3 and 3X. There were a lot of considerations over the course of the last 5 or 5.5 months that we were going to lose that rating because of the number of people that we have on our shifts and the amount of time that it takes for us to respond to calls and the number of calls we have. There are a lot of considerations that the audit went through to assess our response. And again, after a lot of consideration by the ISO raters, and it took almost 2.5 months for them to respond back and give us the final notice, but we were able to maintain a 3X for our community, which saves us a tremendous amount of money in our insurance, as I'm sure that Commissioner Johnson could provide us that information. So we're very pleased to report that we've got a 3X. We did move into a more solid position when we indicated, of our ISO rating, when we indicated with the rater that we were looking at moving to add an additional person to the shift. That's a big deal for us. And let me give you just as an aside, we've had 3 structural fires in the last 45 days, and we have had to send a few of our firefighters for IV fluids to the local hospital simply because the heat and the heat exhaustion has just been significant with the fires that they're responding to. I'm happy to report that everybody is okay, but we did have one just last week that wound up with an extra bag of fluids. The numbers that were presented, this was the documentation for calculating the fire district or fire protection calculation tax has been in existence for the county for more than a decade. When I arrived just 3 years ago, William and I sat down, walked through how we were calculating. Jenna and I sat down and walked through how we were calculating. The numbers have not changed as far as how the calculations work because this information was provided to us by the Department of Revenue. And we calculate it based on that information, and then we go back and work with Sylvia to make sure that the numbers are accurate because she's the one that certifies the M&O for both the gross and the net for taxes. So the numbers that are presented, I think you're showing 6.31, which was 1.5 mil increase.
Showing 6.321.
Sorry, 6.321. And the information that we have for this year is actually not finalized yet because Sylvia has not finalized the digest, so we won't know the exact number until she finalizes. I have asked her for that information, but The numbers that Brian has is fairly accurate for adding that additional person to the shift.
Will this extra person keep the fire stations manned?
It will. It will. And
Because-
that was the intent, actually. We've got Chief Polk in the back. We've been closing one of our fire stations probably every 10 to 14 days because we have been short one person.
Because Kenneth's dad fell, EMS calls for a lift assist, and they had to come all the way from Carver Road because the one that's 5 minutes from Orchard Hill is closed.
So you're asking me to pay an additional 32% for a fire station that's not completely manned?
I'm asking you to pay 32% extra to ensure that we have fire stations manned. Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Dr. Ledbetter. If you fail to man that station, do I get my 32% back? I work in a business and I run a business or assist in running a business where if I fail to do my job, I have to refund. Is the county gonna refund or rebate me back the money?
Well,
That's
one
all
of
I'm
the,
asking.
I think you actually hit on something very, very key there. It was a lift assist for EMS. You know, the county does not run the EMS.
Oh, no, I understand that, but fire department was the one that responded because EMS was dealing with a car crash at the time. And they had to come from Carver Road.
And only for 15-month period last year into first part of this year, first quarter of this year, only, I think, 17 calls that came to Orchard Hill were not a lift assist. You had a couple car wrecks, a couple of structural fires, whatever, only 17 calls, but we get a 32% increase. Lift assist, EMS, I know that's a different animal, me and you spoke about that, but I just think 32% across the board is too much.
What do we save in manpower by shutting down that station for a day? What cost do we save in manpower? For instance,
We're not shutting it down. We do not have the staff to service that fire station. If we have someone sick for that shift, we are calling in additional people to work. So it actually costs us more because we're paying in overtime.
Where is the fire station they're referring to?
The,
Aiken Station
Yeah, on McDonald Road,
on South McDonald Road.
South McDonald Road. Come on, Wayne, you lived here your whole life.
Okay.
You don't come that far out in Spalding County, I understand. I wouldn't either.
I'm just trying to visualize where that is.
If you go down Highway 16 east, you come to where McDonald Road crosses Highway 16.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Make a
red
right.
light. The first big red light you come to, out in the middle of nowhere, turn right. It's about a mile and a half on McDonald Road.
Very close to Rehoboth.
Yeah, Rehoboth
Oh,
Road.
yeah.
Middle school.
Okay.
It's just right down the street from the new aquatic center.
What, yeah, that's what I've seen.
So that's the station that,
no, typically the station that is closed is Station 7 out in Brooks.
so I guess my question is, well, it's kind of like, why would someone come from Carver Road when there's a station up on North McDonald Road?
If that station was responding, back to your point, if it was responding to an accident out on 16,
No, that
yes.
was the EMS, not the
Okay.
fire department.
So if EMS was responding to an accident on 16, then most likely that station was responding as well. I don't know the exact reason why. If I could get a date and a time, I would be more than happy to pull the information from 911 and provide that information.
I wouldn't remember that date, he fell so many times in that timeframe. But nonetheless, 27 minutes, and when I inquired how it took 27 minutes for the fire department to respond, when I could have walked there in 27 minutes. My question was, and they said, we had to respond from Carver Road. So why not Aiken, are they on call? And he said, no, they're closed for the evening. They were short-staffed. My question is you want, and I understand the numbers add up, I'm not arguing your math. I'm arguing what I'm getting, like Marty asked. What are we getting in Orchard Hill for the 32% increase? I mean, I understand that things are going up. I get it. But when I hear we're short firefighters to the point where we're closing, I hate to use the word shut down, because shut down implies that we're closing that station for good. When we shutter it for an evening or for a shift, you know, it's kind of hard for me to accept that you want me to increase pay when you're not increasing service.
But let me ask a question. So if we are increasing, that does increase service.
It does. It provides us with the
Right.
opportunity to have our stations open because we can't operate with
Mm-hmm.
two firefighters. We cannot operate with just one.
So let's just say hypothetically, so in that unfortunate situation that happened with your dad, had we been staffed up, it would not have taken 27 minutes to have gotten to him,
I would hope not.
which is the reason why we're probably having this conversation.
No, that's not the
Well,
argument.
no, because in real life, we're not supposed to answer EMS calls. That's a service, that's a Wellstar service. So, Glenn is here. I think a lot of the stuff that our fire service does is community-oriented because
beyond.
we don't get paid a penny for showing up at a scene and providing IV bags, putting somebody on a monitor. Even though they're firemen, they're not, their service is not EMS service. And so if the hospital, which I think they only have 4 ambulances on staff, if they're backed up and standing on the wall in the ER, there's no ambulance to go out. So, of course, you know, we don't have any say-so over what Wellstar does. But as a result of that, they end up calling the firefighters to come and provide their first aid, which is really not what we're supposed to be doing. So, yeah.
And going back to last year, when our fire protection was increased, we were told that was to hire more firefighters to man Spalding County. Wasn't a 32% increase last year. So why now? It was in the budget to get more firefighters hired. Was not done. Had a $3 million surplus this year. Was no firefighters hired last year, or not enough.
We
And
were
now
out-
we're gonna go up on us again.
We were allocated 84 firefighters last year. We typically ran 16 short last year because of the pay.
But if you went up on us last year to help pay for more firefighters, that money's still there. If you didn't hire them, then why 32% this year? That's what we're asking.
So my question is, for everyone who is in a fire district, is there going to be an increase in our fire tax?
Yes, ma'am.
And they don't get to negotiate like Orchard Hill does.
That's correct.
Orchard Hill's the only one that does something like this first. This is the only municipality we have. City of Griffin has their own, so the only time we have it, we used to have it with Sunnyside here. So when Steve, as I see it, when we decided we're going to go up on the millage rate for fire, Steve took the numbers that it's gonna look like, put it into the algorithm formula, split it back out. We've been using the same formula. If we didn't have to go up on the millage rate, the 1.25 that we're talking about, this number wouldn't have happened, because we're gonna go up because of, in my case, my situation, the extra firefighters and trying to take care of the vehicles that we're doing, and the fire in the firehouse. So that's how I think the number, we got a bigger number, consequently, it's not a new formula that we're working off of or something like that.
For those who don't live in a city, those who live in Spalding County proper, how much did their fire tax go up on their property tax on average?
1.25 mils, I don't know. I have not run those calculations for a percentage.
Okay.
But it's the same for everybody.
Everybody will go up 1.25 mils.
I know now, I asked after the meeting we were at in May, I asked our commissioner, was Spalding County's fire tax gonna go up? Anybody else? He told me no, is what he told me. And I asked him point blank. I said, are we the only one going up, or is Spalding going up too? He said, Spalding's not going up.
Sometimes people don't know what they're saying when they're saying it.
And he's
That's
probably-
all I
he's
can
probably
say.
thinking the regular.
That's not accurate information that you were giving.
But you know
Yeah.
what, though, he's probably talking about the regular millage rate. I bet that's what he's
Yes,
talking
I
about,
think
and
we're-
not the fire,
Millage rate's not,
Yeah.
the millage rate, as we see it right now. we have
right
it
or wrong,
locked
that's
in.
probably was.
As we see it right now, let me be very specific. As Clay Davis sees it right now, millage rate is not gonna go up on taxes.
Right.
The millage rate for fire district is gonna go up 1.25. That's what we see.
That's what I asked Dutton, and he said no.
I'm sorry?
That's what I asked James. He said no.
Clay Davis could be all wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be all wrong. I think the question he heard was,
The millage
is the
rate.
millage rate gonna go up?
That's
And the
probably
millage rate is not gonna go up for everybody. Fire district tax is gonna go up. Since the fire district tax is gonna go up, algorithm causes everybody, you to go up. So that's how I see it. Right.
So I have a question, and I've thought about this. Have you guys considered contracting with the city of Griffin?
That's a question that came up today that I asked our attorney. But I'm thinking this also. Who's to say if we was to contract with the city of Griffin, which the closest fire truck would probably either be by Crescent or right up the street here to get to Orchard Hill. My worry is if we did contact the city of Griffin, who's to say that Spalding County won't say we can use city of Griffin with everything you got?
Who's to say what about Spalding County?
Would say
Move all the services.
y'all can move all your services to city of Griffin. And I don't want to step on anybody's toes.
I mean, I want you to be able to do what you think is best for your taxpayers. And it makes sense for me that clearly we're not the only ball game in town. The city of
Sure,
Griffin has a
we
first-rate
shop
fire
around.
service. If someone has to, in order for you to get fire service or any service from the fire station, if someone's got to come from Sun City or come from Carver Road, they pass by 4 or 5 city of Griffin fire stations. That's all I'm saying, and I think it would be prudent just to at least know. The other thing I wanted to ask is that you made the comment that you were told last year that the increase that came about was because we were getting more firefighters. Do you have that in an email and in writing, anywhere?
No, ma'am, I don't. It was in a meeting, about once a year, I will sit down with Dr. Ledbetter, and we'll have a meeting. And that came up then, that it was gonna be, bring firefighters in.
Yeah,
Okay, we understand the issue. We're gonna have to talk. There's only 3 of us here now. We're gonna have to talk about it. But as I see it right now, the
Can we be
numbers
in that discussion at
Sorry?
that time? Can we be in that discussion at that point in time?
Yeah, I don't have any objections to that. It's gonna be just at a normal meeting, and we're gonna say, do we agree or disagree with Dr. Ledbetter's way he's doing it?
well, I mean, when we do contracts, which this is what this is, we don't negotiate the contract in an open meeting. I've never seen that. So if we have a meeting with them, it would either have to be in closed session. Because we're just talking this out now. We can vote on a contract out here, but the negotiation of that contract should not happen
Yeah,
in the
okay,
open.
Yeah.
I guess, it just keeps saying in my head, if your rate went up every year, and, it's 5%, 7%, whatever it is, and now with this increase, it's 32%, and I'm not really sure, is that the number you get as well? Okay, so, if Dr. Ledbetter told you that the increase last year was because we were going to hire more firefighters, then I have a little issue with that, because maybe we could hire somebody and maybe we didn't, but if that were the reason and you didn't get the benefit of that, your town didn't burn up, but
Goodness.
but I'm just saying, as I'm sitting here thinking, how many square miles is it? What's the good formula? How many fire hydrants? I mean,
Right.
I think there could be a multitude of things. And then I also say that if people's property values in your community went up, that means a percentage that they went up is going to increase the revenue that you guys are gonna get, whether it's 8% or 9%. So when you project your budget for next year, your budget should be based on an 8 or 10% increase.
That's what I did on fire protection with our budget this year. I looked to see what the numbers were. We set our budget a month,
Good catch.
a month later. I had my meeting with Dr. Ledbetter, and it's 32%, and I told him he just shot my budget all to hell.
What percentage increase did you budget into your budget? Did you budget an increase
Like
into your
12
budget?
Like 12%.
What I would hope that y'all would do, I get it. I didn't realize it was just 200 people in Orchard Hill. But I also know that everybody's property values went up, which means that your property taxes go up, which has nothing to do with us, either one of those. But there should, just like there's maybe an 7 or 8% revenue, tax revenue increase for us, you guys should be experiencing the same thing, and your projection for your budget should probably be based on that. I would love it if you would speak with Jessica or the city of Griffin, if they are able to provide fire protection. As a board member, I don't have a problem with contracting to do parks or roads, but I need for y'all to go and find the best price that you can get, because our contract is not just gonna be for fire services, it's gonna be for everything. And fire services is just one of the things that we partner with in our, I think it's road work, leisure services, what's the other, elections? So there are multiple areas that the city can't do for you anyway. But I would be very interested for you to have a conversation just to find out what that would look like for y'all. I mean, you know, Orchard Hill is kind of an anomaly. I get it. We're not trying to suck any community dry for funds, but I think we just need, for me, I need to know that y'all have looked at all your options in terms of fire. And I don't, like I said, for the rest of it, I'm good. I would never be the person that says, because you want to go and get fire service from the city of Griffin, now you got to do your own roads. That's counterproductive for us as a county altogether, because it's working the way it is. But you have a right to,
But we didn't know we had that.
okay,
Or since we signed the IGA every year with Spalding County, we didn't know we could say, well, let's.
this,
go down different
I don't know,
roads.
there may have been a board, but I don't think this is that board that's trying to break anybody's legs or take their ability to govern away from them. So, I mean, I'm just speaking for
No,
myself.
that's a good idea.
I would not be that person that said, well, just go and do everything. But I want you to find out, because the other things that we can do that aren't affected by this increase, you may find that the city is quite able. And you also may find that in addition to that, you may have a mutual aid agreement with us where we can still assist if someone else is providing the fire service. So before we talk again, I would love it if you were able to just come back and say, hey, no, we can't do it, it's gonna be this much, or, yeah, they said they could do it, blah, 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 blah. And then, if that were the case, the only thing we'd have to talk about is the MOU for the other stuff, and MOU for providing mutual aid.
That's a good idea.
Okay? You all have everything said?
Nope.
You heard what-
One more thing.
Yep, good, all right.
Y'all
Thank you,
invited
we
us this
appreciate
time.
it. We still have a due out with this, but we appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us.
He's
and
got
explain
one more
the
thing,
I've got
Mr.
one more
Chairman.
thing.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Davis, I have one
Oh,
more.
I'm
One more
sorry.
thing.
I'm sorry.
A little over 3 years ago, during the ARP funding, we made an agreement with Spalding County to help with the broadband coverage of Spalding County. It doesn't exist. We can't push it, we can't sell it to people because we can't get it. We get it in what, 5 locations?
I think we have seven residents have it now. One residency has, 2 residencies have 2 each for their business and also their home.
But those locations are directly across from the location of the actual tower. It is placed on the silos in Orchard Hill.
So is it just one, or is it around the silo?
It's just one on the side,
You have
two on the side,
dishes
facing different directions.
facing different directions.
So, and that internet was just, that broadband was just supposed to be for the town, or was supposed to be for anyone who was in view of that tower?
Anybody who was in sight.
Of that
this is
town.
what we were told.
Right.
By the installer, if they're in sight of the silos, they can get it. It don't work that way.
Okay, I think that's something we can
And we've
do
talked
something
to the
about.
installer several times, and he says, I'll come look. We've given him ideas, to use we got solar panels on our stop sign and stuff, where he could hook up there to have power to the different repeaters. Okay, I'll come look. Okay. And then he never shows up.
I mean, I may be out of line, and I'm just talking because y'all ain't saying nothing. But that is fixable, because we're sitting here thinking that all of the places that we help spend money to give broadband is getting service. So thank you for letting us know
No,
that,
we spent
because,
money on this
We
one. This
spent
wasn't
we
you.
the one that funded this. We got the ARC funds from the government, and we had it put in and implemented. And now the installer, he won't come try to help us build it out. I've asked him several times to come down there, meet with me or any
Either
other
one of us.
council member and talk about this.
can we help there, Steve? But
We-
yeah,
we-
because,
Sorry, we can. I've asked Mr. Wyndham if he would locate us a second installer for this, this request, because the first installer fell and broke his back.
so tell me if I'm wrong. There was supposed to be broadband that came from Forsyth, Barnesville, up through Orchard Hill to meet Spalding County, right?
To put in place the 911 system.
Okay, that money was money that those people received from ARPA, not necessarily y'all. But at some point, we decided to ring Spalding County with Wi-Fi at each fire station.
We have done that.
Okay, but there's no fire station in Orchard Hill.
That's correct.
So,
We are, the system is working off of the silo, and the installer that you guys are talking about actually fell off
Well,
one
I
of
know
the
he hurt
towers.
his back.
Yeah,
I mean, but even before he ever hurt his back,
Still couldn't.
He-
he wouldn't come down and,
Well, we are looking for a second person, and we believe we have found one at this point. So if you'll follow up with me in the next day or so, I'll make sure that Mike and you get connected with that individual.
okay.
so I'm gonna ask one more question. So you saying just the people on the side of the street where the store is, because I've looked up for where the little thing is, only those people on that side of the track can get the internet?
Unless you live directly down on Swint, right across the street from it. Anyone down Janet,
The way it was-
Johnston,
The way it was sold, he told us we could put, and we had some poles we could use. 4 poles we could use that we had come across, put them at the end of the road. You could shoot the signal all the way down to the end of the road and take the repeaters and maneuver them to where they'll hit each house. And if the people chose, they could have the internet through us cheaper than they could get it through anybody else. But that's as far as it went.
Yeah, we were all broadband, and so that makes me kind of wonder about all of the other places that we instituted internet. Are people actually able to get on it?
the last time I spoke to firefighters at Aiken Station, they did not have broadband.
Okay, so maybe we just need a really tall place.
Well, that's,
Well, the silo was supposed to be the answer. to
Well,
shoot.
yeah, but apparently when you go down Swint Road, you get in the dip and you're out of the range.
That's
I mean,
all
I've seen it, and I think
Well,
we
he
we
was
can do
telling-
something to fix it.
He was telling us that it would cost the city of Orchard Hill, he didn't give us a dollar amount, he just said it would cost the city of Orchard Hill to put more repeaters in around the city. Okay, give us a price.
yep.
That's been
Okay.
2 years now. And no
I-
price.
The county manager says that he's going to work with y'all and Mike Wyndham to make
Okay.
that
Yeah,
happen.
I mean, he put in a camera system for us down there, in the parks and around City Hall and everywhere. Greatest thing since sliced bread.
Well, good.
So, but on the other part, eh,
Well, everybody needs internet. You can't do anything, you can't grow your community without internet.
yeah, that's what we want to do. And just let you know, something me and you discussed a couple weeks ago now. I think I was headed out of town. We got a grant from Norfolk Southern. Imagine that.
That's awesome.
We're gonna put in 3 pickleball courts in the park. Hear that,
We also got a grant from Woodmen of the World to maintain the cemetery that we have in Orchard Hill.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, most people don't know, it's no big deal. We know, most people have no clue we have a cemetery.
Do you know where Orchard Hill is?
I do, I come down there and pick pecans every time it's November. But I'm just, trying to imagine this, but, I mean, Orchard Hill is still in Spalding County. So
It's
you're
fairly, but we
not
are-
a man on an island by yourself. And
Yeah.
some of these things we just need to have better communication on, because it's crazy for us to be working on the same kinds of things and then doing it out of 2 different pocketbooks.
And agreed, and I would love to see more communication between all of us. Unfortunately,
Not the bad kind.
obviously not the bad kind, I
Well-
always like the good kind.
Maybe we should look forward to planning some workshops with
Right.
them so that we can talk about what it is we're doing and you can talk about what you're doing, and maybe it'll give us a better opportunity
I
to
promise you.
know what each other's needs are.
Had we have known this before our budget, it wouldn't be such a grind.
Right.
Honestly, it wouldn't. We understand the cost of doing business. I mean, it's not lost on us, I promise you. Dr. Ledbetter, you and I have had plenty of conversations, and I
Yes, we
think
have.
we agree on 90% of everything. That's pretty good for 2 people in our positions. I mean, I have a county commissioner from Upson County who's one of my direct supervisors, and him and I don't agree on 50% of everything, so that's pretty doggone good. But at the same time, if we have these opportunities to sit down and talk, not necessarily in a public forum, I think everybody needs to know we're having that workshop so they can enter in questions or things they need to know. But at the same time, as councilmen and commissioners, if we were able to sit down, have discussions, what do we look like in the future? A 1-year, 3-year, 5-year plan. I mean, because I don't want to see Orchard Hill city limits stay the same. I have been very vocal about possible annexation. Because the only way to grow Orchard Hill is to grow Orchard Hill. We can't stay 0.49 square miles, 3.87 tenths road frontage. I mean, I don't want to see that. I want to see us grow. Because I'm watching a community grow around us. And everybody in southeast Spalding County says they're from Orchard Hill, even when they're not. And I want to see that opportunity of conversations between all of us to help make that opportunity happen. But we can't have surprises like a 32% increase. Those kind of things are the non-starters for me. Everything else can be overcome. I mean, it's money. We have it. It's just the aggravation of why are we paying it when it wasn't in our budget? And now
Yeah.
we have to go back and explain later on, should someone actually ask that question. I doubt they will, but there's always, you guys know better than anybody. You're always gonna have that person show up that has a question you're not ready for.
What percentage of your households are properties that are owned by the individual living there?
I would say better than 70%, because the trailer park is probably the other 30%.
Trailer Park is 29,
Gordon Dixon owns 3 rental properties,
and Gordon owns rental.
and then the rest are owned by people.
Okay.
So I would say about between 70-75% are actually owned by the individual living there.
And just to break that number down a little further, because you said 214 people, how many households are we're talking about?
77, I think it is.
Yeah, it's like 77%.
77,
77 households.
somewhere around that number.
And that number ebbs and flows once again, based on whether it rains or not. I mean, not to make a joke, it's just a small town. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, when when the county manager came to us, a couple of years ago, one of the things that I was most impressed by was that he had helped the city of Woodbury to get broadband or Wi-Fi. And everybody knows where Woodbury is.
That's what sold us.
And it made crazy sense that all of a sudden people could do their businesses from home because they had the ability to do internet. And I can see where that would make a difference in you guys' case
The
as well.
reason it became a passion for me is at the time I was still a assistant coach at Rehoboth Road for their football team. I spent 5 years there coaching children, half of which did not have internet. So they were sitting on the outside of the building, you know, trying to bang away on their tablets or laptops to get stuff done at that building. I offered for them to come to the city of Orchard Hill City Hall if they needed to, because what I didn't want to see is children not have internet. I mean, providing a low-cost opportunity, and I'll be honest, there's also a selfish reason. It provides us a service on our certification journey. And that's one thing that, yes, that's a nice thing for us, but my ultimate goal was to get kids in Orchard Hill who live in that trailer park, my own children, other children, to have a low-cost option for broadband. Not to mention, I'm tired of Comcast and AT&T only working half the time.
Well, I think the first thing for us to do is to have you to come back to us and let us know so we can talk about, have you decided your options may be different? I think the workshop would be looking at whether or not, what our abilities are to help you with broadband or Wi-Fi. And clearly you have kids out there, so that means that the school system may very well be interested in partnering on trying to provide internet. And I will ask Steve to ask about that, but I think initially we just need to figure this out about the contract.
And the frustrating part is the amount of money we spent for the Wi-Fi was supposed to Wi-Fi the entire city.
Right.
Not just the silo, not just City Hall. So
That I can understand.
why would I want to put out more money for something that doesn't
Right.
work? I mean, I got a little bell on the back of my house, but I don't get internet from the city of Orchard Hill. What does that say? I mean, I'm a councilman, next year I'll be mayor. I
He
don't,
was actually supposed to be. one
I
of
was
the
supposed to be the first
test-
one.
Test pilot to get it, and it was not installed at his house.
so, yeah, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a lot of faith.
Well,
Show me.
You just, sometimes you have to pull out the big guns and let them do the dirty work.
I'm
So-
all for Dr. Ledbetter getting his name sold and do the dirty work, and I can smile at the end. That's his job. He's a county manager. Everybody knows they get beat up. And I know sometimes Brian and I and future Marty will be those to do it.
BDs.
But at the same time, I want to be your best friend.
Yeah.
I don't want arguments between Spalding County and Orchard Hill. It's counterproductive and it wastes my time. And to me, my time's valuable, just like yours.
Well,
And-
one of our goals is to make sure that we have good relationships with our cities. It took us about 8 years to be able to sit in the same room with the other city that's here, so hopefully it won't take that long
don't
with
think
us,
so.
but I think we just need to do better about communicating our needs and not spending money to do the same thing in both places.
I agree. I think if we can come together on a lot of those things and make them mutual projects, that saves all of us time and money. And also, at the end of the day, if it doesn't go right, it's not just on one of us, it's on both of us. And that way, we can't blame each other. Because that seems like what we do a lot, and I don't think we mean to.
Okay.
And I see Dr. Ledbetter over there shaking his head.
I
Steve's shaking
am
his head
not-
hard, so I know. And,
Okay.
you know,
Any other questions?
No, I think we know what needs to be done. They're gonna talk to the city of Griffin, correct?
we will discuss it with them. And my hope is that we can maintain the Spalding County.
Right.
I mean, I'm a Spalding County kid. I have never, this is the last 12 years is the first time I've lived inside any city limits in Spalding County. I grew up in South Spalding County, off of High Falls Road. And I'm gonna tell you what, I always liked being a Spalding County kid. I never called myself a Griffin kid. When I was in the Air Force and I had signs on my gate, when I was guarding a gate, it said Spalding County, not City of Griffin. Because I'm proud of where I'm from and I wanna maintain that. But now my interest lie with the city of Orchard Hill, which is, guess what? It's still in Spalding County.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely,
It is.
absolutely.
So I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening to me ramble.
Thank you much. We appreciate it. We'll have another conversation.
Soon, I hope.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Y'all have a good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Anything else from,
No, sir.
all right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. We're adjourned.